Hello, welcome. This is going to be the Daily Dharma. My name is Dina. Thank you all so much for joining me. And a special thank you to all those returning viewers that have stayed with the channel. I like to mix things up quite a bit, and today is no exception. I have brought back out my Dreams of Gaia tarot deck, and this one is quite complex, so I hope I'll be able to do this all justice. I hope you're ready to strap in. Let's go ahead and cleanse our energies, open our minds and hearts for the highest possible reading. What appears to be on the table is a representation of the spiritual journey, and in that journey process, the development of manifesting some type of partnership. Now, since this is collective, many of us will already have our romantic partner. Some of us will be married happily. Others will be in a relationship on any level, and others will be looking for a partnership like a best friend or somebody to mentor them or to share their spiritual journey with. We have cards that speak to the essence of both mothering and fathering and innocence here. So where to begin? So let's go ahead and start at the beginning. I laid out, 8 of the Dreams of Gaia deck with clarification cards from the Return of Spirit deck below. Ended up coming up with 9 of those. And then we have split the Dreams of Gaia deck, revealing 2 cards at the end, as well as flipped the deck from the Return to Spirit deck with that insight. So I'm going to give you the piles together. First, we have this number 2 card, and the numbers in this deck are all switched up. They don't necessarily correspond directly to tarot cards, so you'll be able to take those on your own. So in this card, she is on a journey. She's got so much magic surrounding her. She's barefoot in the woods. She's got this beautiful flowing dress on. She's got white roses in what do you call that? A crown. There's probably a better word for it. But yes, this is the card of the maiden. There's roses along her head, the white color there, as well as pink roses with a little rabbit in the foreground that seems to have caught her attention. There's a butterfly up here just out of her hand in awareness. It's like, and then the mushrooms coming down here. And right here, there's a Celtic symbol on a stone. So you may be into stones, gemstones, crystals, walks in the woods, and seeing magic in the natural world. This might come quite easy to you. You may be somebody from an early age that spent time sitting in trees, reading in trees. And there was this imagery of, I don't know if you do this too, but sometimes when I walk through the woods, I will slow myself down and slow my breath down. One moment, please. Apologies. So there is this thing that I do that when I'm walking through the forest, slowing everything down, even the breath, and taking very careful, light steps to create the least amount of sound possible. And it's almost like, to demonstrate, it's like this little bitty sneaking through the woods, trying to almost come upon all of the magic in its natural state without nature becoming aware of my presence as I'm in that space, trying to meld myself and integrate myself into the the vibrational resonance with what is pre-existing, so to not disturb and to be a part of that magic itself. And this is something that's coming up with this card. And the celestial card, which has been speaking about convergence, if you've been watching the channel recently, comes out behind that to clarify. Speaking of our ability to utilize all elementals, all portions of our brain or our sensitivities to navigate our journey. And here she is on this journey through the woods. And this can be taken on the symbolic level of how we are traversing our journey. So from an early age, there was all of this magic surrounding you that you were perhaps tiptoeing through, experimenting, witnessing, observing, and trying to integrate into your world. And so I would suppose that some of this magic and integrated celestial information and the encoding that comes from those experiences is really innate and really deeply imbued in the energy that you exude out into the world. And you may not understand quite the depths of that magical capacity and its influence on others, or maybe you do. The next card coming out is the 13 of Earth. This is, I believe they call it something like the Queen of Earth. It's a very motherly Gaia type energy because it's coming up with almost this green man imagery, but clearly this femininity. And then we have the bison buffalo below. It is definitely speaking of this record keeper of the forest energy. And again, with the roses, multicolored yellow, blue, violet, pink, and some acorns showing themselves. It's being able to see through the eyes of the forest, through the eyes of either the stones, the mineral kingdoms, the plant kingdoms, the animal kingdoms, whatever types of animals. It's being able to be at one with the earth itself. And curiously, to clarify that one, we have starseed. So I guess it's not so curious because we have this celestial influence here with the maiden from an early age, converging your energies into that magic, which seems earthly magic because we were born here on this earth, but it comes from a different place, I want to say. However you define that. And this often speaks of this cosmic knowledge being funneled down through our crown, through our body and beingness in this eye of the needle space, this portal that we are with the crown and third eye here, and then us being able to funnel that into our world as the caretaker comes up next, caretaker of all that is, seeing the awareness of gemstones and feeling the vibrational resonance when it sits in your hand. This is one of my favorites. This is a Lemurian seed crystal, and it feels just divine and very watery and flowy and cosmic all at the same time. So there's this essence within you that's been here all along. However challenging your beginning was, you maintained a sense of that inner innocence here, and it's a conduit of celestial magic. It's you now have been activated into the service of Gaia because of your connection between other realms and your ability to stay grounded and rooted and in the flow with earthly nature, and to still infuse that with all of your cosmic awareness as well. It's like watering dry soil in this way, coming into the earth with these external influences really re-inspires earthly essence with cosmic infusion. So next we have the Seven of Fire. And look at this imagery here, such fiery depictions with the color palette here. She's in front of this bowl, which appears to be her scrying or reading some type of context here, but the bowl shows up later, and that reminds me of something else I wanted to point out too. These two animals here in the front, they definitely appear to be, at first glance, I took them to be fox energy, but then it seems almost as though they are fluffy cats. And I'm seeing her as the depiction of coming through that activation point and out into the more adult world, so to speak, where things become more and more complex. And her coming online with the awareness, see there, this eyeball up in the top here in the starry sky. It's like her coming into the awareness of the magic that she's been channeling all along. And to clarify this card, we get the feline card, which seems to be quite relevant here. And before I laid these cards out, I did go and get two of my original tarot decks. I got the Celtic Dragon deck out, as well as my very first deck, the Cat People Tarot. On the bottom we have Death, which is the integration point. Interesting. So this maturing process, this coming into the more adult awareness of the way that we channel things and the way that our sight has developed, seems to be coming more throughout this reading. I wanted to say one other thing before I move too far along. It was as though this maiden energy is looking down at this rabbit, but because of her magical sight, what she is seeing in the forest around her is the evidence of this motherly Mother Gaia, this cosmic earthly Mother Gaia here. And she's wanting to integrate and follow in the footsteps of the caretaking of nature, to look upon the miraculous and to then commit to embodiment of that on some level, to have some sense of significant reverence for all that is, and the urge to promote awareness and to experience it deeply in the core of every cell that makes us up. And so with this feline energy, it's, oh, and one other thing as well with this maiden card, I'm not sure that I said it because I jumped out of the channel to speak with my daughter for a moment, but it's as if there is also some bearing coming into here, some context here about early romance and relationships in general, but specifically the first few times that one individual would come across romantic love and becoming enamored with something. And it can even just be as simple as being caught up in nature, but it's also about the flow of energies, and we all interact with these energies within ourselves, the integration of both our masculine and feminine selves, for instance, our ability to be and flow and intuit and caretake, as well as our ability to assert and influence and to move um, and to evoke response and invoke through prayer, which comes below this. So here, looking into her bowl, she's almost got these eyes that are kind of glazed over to me. Speaking of having been in quite a deep reverie here in some way, it's like this maturity talks about her dashed illusions and expectations. It's like the maiden card is somewhat talking about the innocence process that then is like almost still relying on our caretakers to pay the bills and to uh, take care of the home, even if we had early responsibility. And then in that process, it's almost wanting to be saved, which doesn't necessarily mean that we're victimized here. But with this feline energy coming through, this fiery awakening process, this activation of one's more sensual, sexual energies, and how then we come into connection with the greater depth of our cosmic and earthly energies, that kundalini energy that motivates us, and the creativity energy funneling through us, that is that spark, that fire. So a lot of independence and awareness and confidence and the ability to witness oneself from the eyes of the beholder, witnessing one's charisma instead of one's innocence and magic. We're also seeing the impact that we have in these other ways. And through the bowl, as she's looking in the bowl, this is the imagery that's showing through. So it's as though she's looking onto her desk, perhaps, and she sees maybe, and this could quite likely be some sacred space in forest or in the earthly, some type of earthly area. Like I'm seeing somebody with their bowl or whatever they do, their incense, their cards, on a tree stump, and like moss and grass and things growing all around it, but having the eyes glaze over and coming into this pictorial representation of basically this energy matched with the masculine. Don't get caught up in genders here, but it's like we've been the embodiment here and calling forward the complementary energy from the masculine, whether that's the internal feminine masculine integration, which is the precursor, or the manifestation and or the precognition of a masculine who is thoroughly embodying these energies as well, which may or may not look the way that it's expected to. This one comes out with the caretaker, which is why we're talking about that energetic connection with the earth, the forest, and so on. And this individual looks like they are of two realms. They have that green man imagery on half their face, and then the earthly embodiment on the other side. They appear to also be a record keeper, an information holder, a gatekeeper, or a key holder. There are individuals who guard sacred knowledge, and there are individuals, those are the gatekeepers, and then there are individuals who hand the keys to other individuals and provide the insights and the codes that unlock certain dimensions within the self, that then those individuals can then that have been handed the key can then approach the gatekeeper and say, I have this bit of sacred knowledge. Does my key open this gate, and does it or does it not? If that makes sense. So there's some dragon energy here. Wolf, horse, bear, owl. And there's some codes, some numbers, and the tree of life here. So I also was seeing this as some type of medallion or a medal of attainment or success before I recognized it as being the bowl. It was like some whatever you esteem as having been something that validates your process, or a recognition of all that you bring and the work that you do on the other side of the veil, perhaps, or in your quiet times. Maybe it's some type of recognition or reward system that you are having an expectation of being delivered to you because of doing the right thing, because of being of high moral integrity and value systems, because of your service work to the collective and to the cosmos and the earth. There's something here that you are thinking needs to be evidenced to show you've reached some type of level, is kind of the way it was coming through. And maybe this is this partnership, which comes up in a bit here. So while I was going through the cards, one of the first few, I think it came out after this Goddess of Earth card or something. This one was on the bottom, and I was so excited when I split the deck to lay it down, and this one was the one that it was split to. I wanted to almost pull this off the bottom of the deck when I first saw it, because it seemed to go with these first two energies, and then it ended up coming at the end of the row. So a few things here. This is definitely the integration phase of unlocking all of your chakras, having that sacred space in the woods, perhaps, or for some it may be in the water, which comes up in the next card here. But see, these light wings are fiery here, crawling up these shoulders. I don't know if you've had back pain is coming up a little bit for whatever reason. Oh, and then, yeah, these bull horns, or are they the bison buffalo horns here? It's like this is the integration of the process, and I feel like that is the reward, is our ability to dive deeply within the psyche and to witness the levels of cosmic support and divine love. I'm seeing the spirals of the fern fronds all around. But yeah, this urge to go back to a previous state or a previous awareness came out as well, or a previous romance. There may be this, it might not be the individual, it might be this feeling that was created once upon a time, something about fairy tales, right? And coming out of some type of illusion, and to witness the miraculous that's surrounding us. And here I noticed too, we have green apples, red apples, and then the fading foliage from the autumn time frame. And it's reminding me of maiden mother crone energy, the progression from the maiden into then this passionate, creatively inspired, intuitively advanced individual, and witnessing that you've already received something quite profound as a gift. You've been gifted from the beginning. And the more that you connect and unlock these, the greater the outcome. So moving along to the second row, we have the 7 of water. We did have the 7 of fire, and we had, I thought we had another 7, but perhaps not. But so that 7 of fire scrying there, here we have this watery essence, and it's almost like it reminds me of one of the sacred places that I no longer have physical access to per se on the regular basis that I would perhaps desire, this creating some bit of symbolic nostalgia, longing essence. But I often, because of that subconscious entanglement and connection with that sacred space, I often dream in that environment. I will be either in the house or in the lake, in the water, or witnessing the water and what's in the water. It's come across so many ways I couldn't begin to explain. But so this is, whether it's a physical sacred space that you have, or a vision that you create, that you visit when you're meditating, or it could be a dream space that you're connected with. But it seems like otherworldly influences are able to meet you there and replenish you again with the watering the dry soil when you are parched, spiritually parched. This imagery comes in to renew your flow state from a sense of being separated to a sense of being connected deeply, and releasing control. And yeah, and so there's this urge to recreate also that space and that connection and that feeling in your everyday world. Yeah, there's all these little um, celestial star beings here that are coming through and maybe healing you in your meditation, healing you in your dream space, your astral projections, daydreams. There's so many of these cards here today, their eyes are closed. I would say at least half. And I'm also considering this to be no eyes because it's unsight. It's not visual sight. It's seeing through vibration and resonance. So with this, we have divinity clarifying, loving the color palette here, that healing of the divine flow in your process through connecting with this space. It's like your sacred space. Next, we have the 14. No element on this one. And I see the this Celtic symbolism behind her here. It's depicted in a couple of ways here. I'm seeing it on the bowl and on this medallion imagery around the bowl here. Even though it's not drawn on the imagery, I'm seeing it. And then here it is. She's like in this meditative powering up state where you can see she's got balls of light in her hands, and also developing and gaining momentum within the chest. We have these 2 dragon energies here, as well as 3 doves. So the self, the 2 dragons, and the 3 birds. 1, 2, 3. Spirit is reminding us to sit in some type of sacred space. I'm seeing this as you recreating space in the forest, perhaps, where perhaps your longing is for this watery energy, and maybe you're surrounded by a pond or a swamp or something, as my case may be. I've got quite a bit of swampland. But there's this invitation to set up sacred space someplace, maybe further away from individuals if you can. Maybe even going into a state park or something like that where there's space, but going off the beaten path. And there's like, whether you're sitting on a stump or a rock or something, I'm sensing that there's this need to recognize that you are the gift. You are the present and aware, awakened, activated. And it's like embracing both your ferocity, your fierce lion energy, as well as your grace, and releasing the control, releasing your timetables, and understanding that you don't need to demand rewards necessarily. You only need to stand fully awakened and aware of your worthiness here, if that makes sense. So look at that ball of light here, recreated here. It's like on her heart chakra, there's this light, and it's gathering energy and calling her energy forth. We also have a butterfly and these blue roses. So I'm seeing here at the center of this image, it looks like a person standing, and I see two things. This looks like two hands, but then this four lobes here. It's almost looking like the brain. And what is that? The corpus callosum, that is the in between of the right and left brain. And the thicker that corpus callosum, the more information exchange and the faster that we can move from logic to liminal and back and forth again and again. And women are generally known to have more of that capacity, more ability to switch back and forth, but that doesn't mean that men are not able to do this in their own way. I was curious, if a man was more of an empath, would his corpus callosum show more as a feminine, and would a feminine who was less in tune and more linear logic, would hers be thinner? And I suspect that that would be the case. But so this ability to move between hemispheres here can also lead us to accidentally accelerate negative thinking or doubtful thinking or resistant thoughts. So this fierce inner nature needs to guard and protect us. I'm running out of time. How did that happen? We have this gentleman here. I'm going to continue this on a Daily Dharma number 2 if you want to see the end of the reading. So here we have this gentleman stepping forward, being clarified with the prayers. And I did have a fallout of cards coming after that I